Okay, I'd like to call to order the Township Council regular meeting for Tuesday, December 6, 2022. If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I'd like to start off the program with a certificate of recognition. Mr. Gillespie, I'll defer that to you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Pileggi. Yeah, I'm honored to have the Kemper family here tonight. This is a proclamation that we're honoring John S. Kemper Jr., whereas Concord Township Council recognizes the importance of an engaged citizen, and in the wake of his passing, would like to honor John S. Kemper Jr. for his unwavering commitment to Concord Township. And whereas Mr. Kemper served as a member of the Concord Township Planning Commission from April 1974 to January 1978, and whereas Mr. Kemper was elected to the Board of Supervisors, serving from January 1978 to December 1983, and returned again to serve on the Board of Supervisors from February 1989 to December 1993. And whereas Mr. Kemper served on the Sewer Authority Board from September 1994 until it dissolved in May of 2011, and served on the Township Zoning Task Force. And whereas John S. Kemper Jr. will be remembered as a great steward and advocate of Concord Township, contributing to making the great place it is today. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that we, Concord Township Council, honor the life and memory of Mr. John S. Kemper Jr. and recognize with great admiration his dedication and loyalty to Concord Township. This is proclaimed the 6th day of December, 2022, by the Township of Concord Council.
In the form of a motion?
Yes, it is.
We have a second?
I'd like to second that.
Okay. John, did you want to add anything else?
Yeah, just a few personal words. I've known Mr. Kemper for many, many years, back in my days as a professional engineer, and he as a senior member of the Pico family with Engineers Week in Philadelphia in the Delaware Valley. John was a great man. He was honored by many, many professionals in the engineering societies. And I truly remember many, many dinners and meetings with him, and him getting awards, and also serving with him on the Sewer Authority. He's a great man. He did many, many good things for Concord Township, and sorry to see his passing. With us tonight we have his widow and some of the children, so maybe we could call them forward and get a photo taken and present the proclamation. Thank you.
Okay, our upcoming meetings and events. The Historical Commission meeting and the Zoning Board meeting for December have both been canceled. December 19th, Planning Commission meeting, December 23rd, and 26th, it's the holiday, the offices here will be closed. December 27th, if needed, a council agenda meeting. January 2nd, the township offices are closed, and January 3rd, will be the council reorganization and regular public meeting for the month of January. We'll now get into our reports. Public safety, Vanita, I'll hand that over to you, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everybody. Last month, Garnet Valley School District made the Township Council aware of a new program regarding the new school bus camera initiative that is designed to increase safety. It is an automated enforcement technology to detect license plates of vehicles that fail to stop for the school buses, thereby compromising safety of our children. Cameras on the sides of the school buses capture the violation events that are then reviewed by law enforcement. In Pennsylvania, this carries a $300 fine. The data found from our Garnet Valley School District buses is quite shocking. There were 119 violations logged in mere 21 days since the start of the school. Concord Township pleads to the township residents to please drive safely, follow the safety road rules, and keep everybody on the road and our children safe. Based on the monthly report from the fire marshal, we also saw a rise in the emergency medical services incidents. Thank you to our fire marshal and the EMT staff for taking care of all the residents in time of their medical emergencies. We have seen a consistent fall in the number of false alarm events past few months, but we did see some rise back again last month. We urge our residents once again to please follow the guidelines and tips recommended by our township to avoid these false alarms, to enable the emergency service staff and volunteers to attend to the residents that truly need help. Last week, PSP, Pennsylvania State Police, notified us of a trending rise in car break-ins in our township and the neighboring townships. Anybody with any specific questions regarding any investigations may contact PSP. For this holiday season, the safety tip for this month will focus on preventing car break-ins. Always lock your car doors and window glasses rolled up when parking the car. Store all valuables, electronics, and accessories and other shopping bags out of the site or at home. Remove car keys from the ignition when stepping out of the car, and be vigilant and report any suspicious activity immediately to PSP. At Concord Township, safety is our priority and prevention is better than cure. We do have Trooper Knapp from PSP here today who will update us on the events. Thank you, Trooper Knapp.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having me. I just wanted to start this off. I know that there's a lot of questions that the residents or the board might have in reference to some major incidents or some serious significant incidents that have happened recently. As I came to you guys a couple months ago when I first started at this position, I am available for any phone call and email. Almost 24/7, I'm checking my emails. So I can get to you eventually if you tell me what the problem is, and I can look into it ASAP. That being said, there's a lot of things that are called in that are not actually as it appears, okay? So we have gotten numerous calls in reference to the kidnapping that possibly I guess it was the school district had put out, okay? That was an isolated incident, and the reason that that was not disseminated was because it was a domestic situation within a family, okay? So that was a very isolated incident, and that's probably why no information was actually giving out to the public, because it was taken care of and it was actually handled in a different jurisdiction, and then we were notified that it had occurred and started in your jurisdiction. So that's where that missing piece was for the families. That being said, for the month of November, I ran the statistic reports for you in Concord Township, and it came up with 667 calls within this jurisdiction for service. Making aware of the situation with the dog park, we have been doing patrol checks, and we were notified about that on November 23rd, I believe it was. Out of that time from November 23rd until today, we have conducted 82 domestic security checks checking your township. This is just for your township. We are out there in force. We want the public to know that we are absolutely out here committed to your safety and well-being. If there's anything that needs to be reported, you need to call 911 immediately. We ask that the public please work with us. We need as detailed and specific description on each of the things that they're seeing so that we can send troopers out to the area and collect information. That being said, last night, or yesterday morning, I should say, there was a random shooting, okay, that happened in Middletown Township. With that being said, there was very, very, very limited information when that shooting came out. Once the follow-up investigation was conducted, we realized that we did not have any information really to give out to the public at that point until the second crime occurred, is where we were able to tie everything in together with the 3 counties, Philadelphia County, Chester County, and Delaware County. Again, it was an extremely random attack. We have no idea why he was here, and I don't know how else to ease your situation except to say that we are here for you. We were there immediately as this unfolded, okay, which is with normal crime, not usually so fast, but we were immediately there. When I looked at the reports from November 2021 last year for Concord Township and November 2022 with the 667 incidents that we had, I can say that our crashes, the DUI arrests, and burglaries and criminal mischiefs are down, okay, from last year. However, the thefts for fraud have been up, okay, and that's another thing. That's identity theft we're seeing consistently with people having their belongings stolen out of vehicles and people using their credit cards randomly. We need people to be vigilant. This is a crime of opportunity. I can't say it any other way, is you need to lock your doors, you need to pay attention to your surroundings, and call in any suspicious activity if you see somebody rummaging through the neighborhood or just loitering through the neighborhood that does not belong there, because maybe you caught them after they were already done checking out one vehicle and they're on their way to the next. I can tell you that with the new Ring cameras, they are tremendous in helping us recover images of vehicles and people and perpetrators that we are definitely happy to see if you guys were able to get that to us. I definitely recommend, if you guys wanted to protect yourself a little bit more, having the Ring cameras. There was numerous incidents throughout the month that I gave you the township report, but nothing was more significant than the 2 incidents that we just spoke about. And I will be here after the meeting to have any conversations with anybody if anybody has any other questions. Again, my name is Trooper Michelle Knabb with the Pennsylvania State Police, and I am the Community Service Officer and the Public Information News Officer.
Any questions from any? Benita, you have anything to follow? John?
Yeah, just a comment. You were going rather fast there, whether I caught everything you said.
Sorry.
But what would be the protocol for any of our residents if they were away on vacation to ask for a security check? How would that happen? How often would you come by to check the house? Would you get out of the car and walk around the house? Or you do it from the street? Can you tell us a little bit about the protocol?
So anytime that you call the Pennsylvania State Police, our main desk, you can make a police report requesting somebody to come over to the house for a patrol check. The patrol check would constitutionally go around the house. We don't normally get out of the car unless we were checking doors for locked doors. If you specifically requested that, yes, we can do that. I don't know how often we could do that, only because of the fact that I don't know what crimes are in progress or anything like that, but we would normally come at least once a shift to the house, depending on how long you're gone.
Okay.
So that would be on file, and we would just have that, and we would re-queue it every hour, on the hour, whatever it is, throughout the day.
So if someone was to go away for a week, like a week vacation out of town,
Yes.
could they request that they would come by every day?
Sure. This is Michelle Knabb. I live at 123 Main Street. Would you be able to check my property, front door, back door? I do or don't have cameras at that residence, and that's what we would do. And we would put that out to the patrol officer. So as frequently as they have the time, we can do that.
Thank you. Maybe that's something we need to put out on our webpage
Okay.
for our residents.
I'll defer to Benita to talk about that with council, because she's
Yeah.
our public safety liaison, and we can talk about that later and decide if that's what we want to do.
I have a quick question, sorry.
Okay.
What do you think that the township could do to, I guess, help with the social media posts? Because once something gets out there, it goes haywire, there's not all the facts available.
Right.
So what do you think our township could do to provide, accurate information and timely basis?
I don't have all of the social media posts just yet, but if you want to direct them straight to me, and this way I can tell you how to proceed on each one of the incidents, that would be absolutely wonderful, because I'm not knowledgeable about everything that's being posted out there with all the different school districts and stuff like that. So if you believe that there's something that needs to be addressed, I can definitely address that if you bring that to my attention.
Okay, thank you.
Does the state police, not that it's necessarily your focus to respond to social media, but do you put out any statements or updates on situations on social media so that those can be shared rather than things that tend to be more sort of hearsay where individuals are posting maybe what they've heard, as opposed to if there's an official update from the state police page that can then be shared?
Yes.
Is that something that the state police
Yes, so
do?
that's what fell through the cracks yesterday because I was out of the office for
Okay.
the day. I did post everything on the Twitter page for us, as well as if it is able to be sent up to Harrisburg. Harrisburg has main access for the Facebook page, so I don't have access to that. I only have access to Troop K Philadelphia, which is Philadelphia County, Delaware County, and Montgomery County, for our Twitter page, and that's where I normally update everything.
Okay, so we can look for updates on Twitter, and then those can be, say, copied and pasted to be
Yes.
shared on social media, on Facebook
Or
or something
retweeted,
like that?
yes.
Okay, very good. That's
I just
helpful
wanted to
know.
also point out, to help with council, I know we've talked about this, and Vanita, please jump in with public safety conversations. A lot of times, we reserve our official communication from the township until we have official communication from PSP. So there are times that folks will say, why didn't the township get something out on that? But as part of our effort to have the right communication come out of this building, there has been a pause on what we've released and when we've released it in concert with PSP. So I just want to make sure, Michelle, you and I, Tribunal, we've had that conversation before, and recognize that for the public, that, it's, for us, it's not who gets it out first, it's us making sure that the township has the correct communication.
Correct.
So that we aren't furthering any rumors or possibilities through social media.
Correct. And an ongoing investigation, it's going to be tight-lipped for a little while until I can get that information out to you. Yes.
Now, would you advise the residents that in case of any suspicious activity, should they be calling 911 or the 484? I believe there's a 484
It's
number.
either or. The 911 system still has to come through the Pennsylvania State Police phone line, so if you want to call us directly, that's fine. They're all recorded, that doesn't matter. But if we don't know what the nature of the incident is and we're jumping to conclusions, they might need an ambulance and fire truck. Whereas if you call us directly, we're not going to be able to get that right away. So just 911 is fine. You don't have to memorize any other phone numbers. When you call 911, start giving us as much information as you can and be specific, trying to get license plates off of the vehicles, the make and model, and or anything that would help us recognize who this person is, tattoos, markings, facial hair, all that, height, weight.
So the response time would be same,
Yes.
either numbers. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Next, open space, trails, and recreation. Mr. Crossan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few updates. The dog park at Smithbridge Road, which was closed for several weeks for reseeding, has now been reopened, and I see many residents there enjoying that.
It's nice and muddy right now, too.
I wouldn't go today. And many of the facilities at the park have been winterized, including the snack shack and bathrooms. The conservation easement on the 50 acres owned by the Wilcox family down in Ivy Mills, those documents are being finalized for council final approval and consideration at next month's meeting. And finally, the Delaware County Greenways Grant Program awards should be announced and approved by County Council tomorrow, and we have several applications that we had put in, so we are anxiously awaiting to see if we were in receipt of those awards. That's all I have.
Okay, Sewer and Public Works, Mr. Gillespie.
Yes, thank you. I have a report from our assistant manager. In the month of November, operations staff performed 9 lateral inspections for resale certification. Sewer department responded to 106 Pennsylvania one call notification for sewer lines to be marked in planned work zones. The Concord Road North Sewer Project has been released for bids. The bid opening is December 20, with planned award at the January 2nd public meeting. Sewer Department received a notice of violation in November from the Department of Environmental Protection for the main treatment plant. The matter has been addressed with DEP, and a study is being conducted to evaluate the original design of the outfall to improve our operations. On the sewer side, continuing the operation of 2 treatment plants. These are monthly activities, coordinating the sludge hauling from 2 treatment plants, checking operation of 23 pump stations, collecting samples from various portions of the collection system. And on the public works side, shoulder repairs were completed on Matson Road, and on Sunset View Drive, the cross drain has been cleaned. Skilled labor at various locations throughout the township. A final grass cutting and minor tree trimming was performed, and as always, preparing equipment for the winter season. The end of the report.
Okay, thank you. Building and Codes, Colleen is not here, but the memorandum will be made part of the record. As far as the Planning Commission, Larry is not here, but the Planning Commission met on November 14th and November 21st. They reviewed a sketch plan for extra space storage, 199 Wilmington Westchester Pike. That's the storage facility at the corner of Namens Road and Route 202. And also they recommended the approval of Tommy's Express Car Wash at 119, 123 Wilmington Westchester Pike. That's the site of the old Marstands furniture. And they also started to review that sketch plan that was previously mentioned. Schedule for their month will be meeting on December 12th and also December 19th of this month. Mr. Solicitor, Mr. Donahue.
Yes, I'm pleased to inform you that Concord Township prevailed with respect to the mandamus motion filed by Concord Ventures. That motion filed by Concord Ventures was dismissed by the court. I expect that the underlying appeal will be addressed sometime next year. Thank you.
Okay. Township Engineer, Nate.
Good evening. Just a couple quick updates, and I'll tackle the Schoolhouse and 1 items that are on the agenda later as well. First, thanks to PennDOT, they've gotten the flexible delineators and quick curb installed at several locations along Baltimore Pike as part of the resurfacing project. Those have been on our maintenance list for a long time, so I'll make sure to get them some feedback on that, specifically Polecat and Scott Road at those 2 intersections. Second, we have an ongoing issue at 202 and 1 where one of the cameras is not working correctly. Unfortunately, the wind moved it out of its position. We are working with our signal maintenance contractor. Unfortunately, getting the traffic control personnel on site has been an issue. So if there's any 202 and 1 complaints, feel free to send those my way, but just be aware that we are in a little bit of a temporary situation while we work to get that resolved. Last, regarding Schoolhouse and 1, the good news, actually mostly good news, the parts that we need to install that have arrived at the contractor, so we are working with scheduling that. So I'm hoping to have an update in the near future that will be getting installed. Again, that's the restriction. Southbound on Schoolhouse, it'll become a right in, right out scenario at that intersection when you're coming out of Schoolhouse. Yep, and then second part of the Schoolhouse 1 project is we are working on the deceleration lane. That'll be southbound Baltimore Pike, so you're making a right into Schoolhouse. We completed our survey and right-of-way research. We've started our preliminary plans, and fingers crossed, we might be able to get our submission into PennDOT before the end of the year, which could lead to, if council authorizes, construction, maybe late spring at the earliest at this point. And I'll continue to keep you updated on a monthly basis on both of those. Maybe by next meeting, we'll have that restriction installed.
Do you have a general sense of timing on the restriction of the left turn?
I can't, again, staffing-wise with our signal maintenance contractor has been a challenge, so just like everybody else. So as soon as I have something, I'll update everybody internally. And again, we'll put the public notice out in advance depending on what the traffic patterns will be as well. So we'll make sure to advise the public.
Nate, we were going to handle this later in the agenda, but I think this will take the place of that report. I just want to, for the public's information, we have tried to keep this intersection as a agenda item somewhere in the township public meeting agenda since we had that tragic accident, I guess, over a year ago now.
It was about Christmas.
Coming up on 2 years?
Yeah, almost 2 years now, maybe, yeah.
And I appreciate your work on that. We did some immediate remedies or some remedial work there that could be done quickly. but a lot of the other stuff is just taking a lot more time and requires a lot more energy, such as working with PennDOT and things of that nature. But to reiterate, I think I'm speaking on behalf of all my colleagues, we are committed to coming up with a solution to that problem and appreciate you keeping it on the agenda. And Amanda bugging you to keep it on the agenda, so we'll talk about it every month. Okay. Anything else for Nate?
That's it.
Moving right along, Township Manager Amanda.
Sure, I have two great things. One, for all of you who are buying fresh trees this year, which are super expensive, but trees, anyone buying holiday trees, we are doing a first ever recycling program. We will be chipping those for some trail opportunities and also feeding them to our local goats, who apparently really love Christmas trees. Just as long as you have no ornaments, tinsel, or anything on them, make them bare, and the goats will go at them. So that program is going to be running from January 3rd to the 6th. However, you need to register for that. You can do so through our website or by calling the township building. You could even email me and I'll get you set up with my administrative assistant to get that taken care of. So the registration is by December 15th. And again, this is something new and great, and you're helping out the goats and you're helping out our trails, so I hope everybody participates if they can. One other really great thing is our awesome finance director and tax collector have worked together with our bank, and we will have barcodes now on our tax bills, which sounds funny because you probably never noticed before, but what's fantastic about that is that eliminates a lot of problems with those being processed by the bank. Because right now, when they go to the bank in large batches, they are entered manually. So by having them scannable, we avoid a lot of issues and a lot of problems for residents. So that is a fantastic thing that we are getting into the 21st century and going to have those bills barcoded with the bank. So that's something new people should know when you get your tax bill. And we have something further on in the program that I will hit once we get about taxes and the timing. Thank you.
It's a virtual Christmas, actually a Christmas miracle. Huh?
It is.
That time of year. Citizen comment. Anyone with any comments regarding any issues on the agenda? Karis, come on up. Good to see you again. Yeah.
Harris Coker, 836 Concord Road, Glen Mills, across the street. We're coming up December the 15th, Bill of Rights Day again. 231 years since it was adopted and became part of the Constitution. A friend found a copy of an old Pennsylvania code book, and I just came across it, and I want to find out if it's still in the code. But the Pennsylvania school code at one time required the public schools to set aside a week for Bill of Rights instruction, not necessarily the week of December the 15th. And it specified this was to be in addition to the regular curriculum. It was to be a special designated time of instruction for the students. So I'd like to see that to find out. First of all, it ought to be continued. Whether or not it is, I don't know. But Eric and I will be hosting our 31st annual Bill of Rights banquet over in Lancaster County. I would urge each of you to read through carefully the Bill of Rights and the preamble. The preamble specifies that it's to clarify that the government that was established, these were to be, the Bill of Rights was to be declaratory and restrictive clauses on the powers of the federal government. And 9 and 10 in particular, we think now when we look at 1 through 8, we think, wow, you know, if we can hang on to those, we're doing okay. But 9 and 10 speak of other rights reserved to the people and to the states respectively. I think we're hard put at this point to consider what in the world might that be talking about, but I think it's worth the thought. There was speaking earlier about the state troopers serving as the checkup on someone's house while they're away on vacation. Frankly, I find that preposterous. that someone would, as a resident, expect the state troopers to come and keep an eye on their house while they're away on vacation. To me, that's just totally beyond the realm of the responsibilities of the law enforcement. I mean, if there's an issue somewhere that comes to the attention, to call them, yes, but to just come by and make sure nothing's happened, that's preposterous. What we have the Second Amendment for. Of course, when you're not there, you can't take care of that. But speaks to, we are to be a people with a right and capable of protecting our own selves, our lives, and our property. I brought with me an engraving. If you don't mind, I want to just hand it at one end, and then you can pass it down and have a look at it.
Agree with you on the Bill of Rights.
That engraving is the frontispiece in a 1790 edition of the Bible, the first printed in the state of New York at the time that the federal government was meeting there. In the front of that Bible, there is a list of subscribers, meaning, and it's several pages long, persons who contributed financially to bring it into print, which was much more significant before we had copying machines, when every letter had to be a piece of metal inserted into the galley in order to be printed. But this was the frontispiece of that Bible, and it illustrates a woman kneeling with the scriptures, and there's a lady seated with the Constitution, and it has the light illuminating the Constitution coming from the scriptures. Behind her, of course, is the Liberty Lady with the traditional Liberty pole, and you have the Liberty Tree and various other bits of American iconography there. But George Washington's name was at the very top of that list, and a gentleman who dealt in antiquarian literature, knowing that I would have an interest, contacted us when this Bible was available. It's a large folio Bible, and we borrowed money to get it because of this engraving and what it illustrates. And every member of Washington's cabinet, except Thomas Jefferson, was in this alphabetical list of persons who contributed to it, and many other persons involved in the federal government, whether it was like a Colonel so-and-so who was governor of the territory north of the River Ohio, and so forth, members of the legislature, and various state officials as well. So these things are very significant in our history because the Bill of Rights is the civil embodiment of the 10 Commandments. Your right to life, thou shalt not kill. Your right to property, thou shalt not steal, and so forth. It was the scriptures that gave birth to a government, a free government of a free people. And I thank God to have been born in America. And I appreciate your service on this board, and I beg of you, especially in this time, to keep these things in mind as you consider them things that are before you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes. Amanda, I think you have a comment. When we're done, you'll read it in the end.
Yep.
Thank you.
Gene Goebel, 7 Quaker Lane. A couple of questions on the budget. I was here last month. The COVID federal rescue funds, is that not included in the budget?
No. The
Correct.
ARPA funds will be kept separate as part of that hearing.
It's not in that, okay.
Nope.
But yet the township has received almost $1.9 million from the federal government. When exactly did we receive those funds?
They were in two parts. I don't know off the top of my head, so I want to say like September maybe was the second part, and the first part would have been a year before maybe, but I think that came around summertime.
So, and where are those funds now?
They're in a separate fund in a separate account.
What kind of interest are those funds making?
There is a requirement. I'm not sure if that, I believe that has to be a non-interest bearing account, Mr. Goebel.
So, and I applaud the township for having a meeting a year ago, getting input from the community how it should be spent. But is it not intuitive to everyone here that in an era of 8% inflation, that we're sitting on our hands for a year? That's 8% of 1.885 million is $150,000 we've allowed to be eroded by inflation. Is that?
The only thing that I'll add for you, Mr. Goebel, is while that money was released, the final ruling on what the money was actually allowed to be used for was changed for almost an entire year. So the actual final ruling from the federal government probably came a couple months ago.
Okay, so no local governments in the country have spent it up until a couple of months ago.
No, that's not accurate. There are many that have spent it, especially large cities and people who had serious revenue losses that had to make those recoveries.
I guess my request would be spend it as quickly as possible, because we're obviously spending lots of money on other things that could be applied to this. Second comment on the budget is revenues collected from violations of ordinances. 2022 budget is 9,000. We've collected 3,600 to date. Next year's 8,000. I'm going to bring up one example from 711 Concord Road. The removal of the bearing wall some 2 years ago without permits, which happened while they were on violation for adding lighting without permits by owners who are licensed contractors in this township. So, according to the Pennsylvania Uniform Construction, blah, 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 whatever, in theory, they owe $1,000 a day for almost 2 years, which I don't expect we're going to collect, but also did a right to know on all the expenditures we've undergone for that property, and it's tens of thousands of dollars. So it would seem to me maybe we should just get rid of fines for violating ordinances, since we're spending a lot more than we're collecting, or figure out how to at least cover our costs. And my last question is on Resolution 46 of this year. That was again last month. I asked to see a copy before it was voted on, which was denied to me. Since that time, I see the printed version, and I'm wondering, is that a typo where the outdoor dining refers to it's been pursuant to the liquor code? Is that a typo?
I don't have it in front of me, so I apologize. I'm not looking at that resolution.
I sent the public comment, I sent you emails, I sent Donahue emails over the last couple of months of what's going on. The way I look at the code, that property is not zoned to allow a conditional use hearing for outdoor dining. I guess my question is, how did it get past the zoning officer, or am I missing something, or nobody really cares?
How do you all want me to comment here? This is public comment, not question and answer. So I defer to council. You ask them, you give comments or ask questions.
You're right,
public
it's
comment,
public
and they direct me as to how I respond.
Which can include a question. The state advises that if you can't answer, you should. Cut down on right to know, etc. So you don't have to, I understand, but
you're directing the township manager. The 7 council members are who you direct in a public meeting.
Anybody want to field that?
I'm
sorry. It's a council meeting. You're not a council member. You've not been elected. You don't live in the township. Let's hear from the council.
Thank you. Mr. Goebel, there was a public hearing. I believe you participated.
That's not my question, sir.
All these issues could or may have been
is,
discussed. So
how did it get
the council voted on the issue? It's over with, Mr. Goebel.
I understand that, but if there was a mistake made, how do we learn for next time? And is this
Mr. Goebel, it's your opinion there was a mistake made. If you
correct.
believe,
so I'm asking, why
me.
am I wrong? I'm telling you why I believe it's a mistake, and you played this game all
ranting here in this forum is not necessarily appropriate. Okay. You have the right to do so, but if you believe legally that it was inappropriate, you can take it up with a higher authority. That's why we have the Bill of Rights. That's why we have the law. and your right to appeal. Thank you.
It appears that one thing is probably should have been pursuant. It might be a spelling error. Amanda, if we could check that, please, that would be the only thing I could.
Well, you
Absolutely.
say it's
Most of our
pursuant to
language-
261C5. 261C5 is a liquor license code. It's
Okay.
not an outdoor dining.
I'm just talking about the word. I think the word that you said, the spelling of it didn't make any sense, was pursuant. I'm not talking about the code, and that's what I'm speaking to. So we could check that out because I know in other
No,
resolutions.
please don't. I'm not concerned about the spelling. I'm just
Well, that's
concerned
what
about
you
you just
said.
taking the code and throwing it away.
Okay.
I did mention the word pursuant, but you don't
Well,
follow your code.
I am answering that as a council member. I think it was a misspelled word. Okay. Amanda, you have one comment you want to read into the record?
Yes, we did receive another emailed public comment. Mr. Goebel has addressed his. He did email me comment, but he has addressed that now. He and I talked about that. So I just want to put that on in the minutes. I also received an emailed public comment from Mr. Cleary, who lives on Schoolhouse Lane. And Mr. Cleary notes that his email says, I suggested at the September 2020 board meeting that the township get with PennDOT and look at adding a deceleration lane on southbound US 1 for turns on a Schoolhouse Lane. Can you share a timeline of the related activities to date and future plans? It appears the township engineer has not moved forward with this suggestion. So earlier this evening, I believe that was addressed with the township engineer's comment actually on Schoolhouse
So I
Lane.
think it's been asked and answered. Okay, any other public comment? Seeing none, we will move along with the agenda. Under the business items, the first is a consent agenda. We are consenting to approve, number one, council public meeting minutes of November 1st, 2022. Number two, appointment to the Historical Commission, Tony Shahan, for a term to expire July of 2025. Regrettably accepting the resignation of Jamer Doherty from our Planning Commission, he will be surely missed. Approving the following certificates of payment. Number 5, the BSS contractors on the community center for $23,593.29. Payment number 2 to Old Philadelphia Associates, Inc. They're doing the stone repointing on this building for $43,743.10. The following financial releases. Number 1, to Shops at Ridge for the sewers for $544,038.84. Number 1, to Westfield Construction for Matson Road, land development, $50,605.20. Also to accept as complete for filing the following applications. A demolition application for the Concordville Inn Historic Class 1 structure. Conditional use application for T-Mobile co-location at an existing cell tower at 701 Smithbridge Road. A preliminary final land development for A2 Premier Storage Facility. That is at the site of the old Greener fence place on Route 202. And Dana, you have the total expenditures for the month?
Yes, the total expenditures for the month are $1,080,980.82, which consist of November payroll of $252,555.31, current bills $520,954.51, and our sewer bills totaling $307,971. And that's in a form of a motion.
For all those things, do we have a second?
Second.
Just to one point of clarification on the demolition application, it is for all the buildings on the particular parcel, which includes the Class 1 historic Concordville Inn, as well as another Class 1 resource, the Twin House, the brick twin next to it. So it's two demo permits. It's one permit, but two structures.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Amanda, I'm going to recuse myself, as I always do, with the mention of Shops at Ridge Road. For the last 15 years, anytime there's been anything on the agenda mentioning Shops at Ridge Road, I recuse myself, and I will fill out the paperwork tomorrow if so needed. Okay. Number 2, Nate, you already did that, and we don't want to hear it again. Okay. Ordinance number 399, the 2023 budget. Amanda, can you briefly explain what's going on with that?
If you want me to be brief, there is a 0% tax increase
Okay,
noted
that's
for the
enough
next
said.
year.
Move
So I think that's probably the headline news there. I would just say it's a pleasure working under council's leadership and with our staff to make sure that we are able to accomplish shared goals and keep things moving and great for our community. I think with Trooper Knapp's report and everything else going on, I think it's safe to say, no pun intended, that we have a great community, and it's an honor to work here. Other than that, I will just, I'm sorry.
Honor to
It is an honor. Yep. Maybe with you, we could curb that. No, I'm kidding. I just want to point out, just so I can, in the ordinance, the clause that notes what the actual millage rate is for the minutes purposes. So this ordinance establishes the 2023 real estate tax millage rate of 0.064 for library, 0.061 for fire hydrant, 0.044 for fire protection services, 0.139 for open space, and 0.206 for general purposes, for a total real estate tax estate levy of 0.514 mils, which are set forth in the actual budget. All of this has been online. We've held a hearing, and everything has been done appropriate with the charter.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve ordinance number 399?
So moved.
Do we have a second? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Amanda, thank you and the rest of the team for the great work you do on the budget every year.
Thank you.
Also now, since you've been talking, what's this tax mailing date change? Can you give us that quickly too, please?
Okay, so this is a request by our tax collector and the finance director to push our tax dates from mailing to discount and face back 2 weeks. So what happens is we have to wait for the county's assessment numbers before we can give them over to the billing company that handles the mailing of our tax bills. And we don't get those until about January 9th from the county, if we get them on that day. And the printer has to have everything by January 11th in order to have our normal print out mail date of February 1st. So we want to make sure that we can have a very good review of everything before us to make sure it's accurate and correct. So our tax collector and finance director has requested a mailing date of February the 15th. So it pushes everything back 2 weeks is the basic premise there. There are actually a lot of municipalities that actually have that as their mail-in date for this very reason. So they were looking for council to make a motion to approve that. And then we will have this information printed on the bill and also update our website with that information. And do you want me to point out the actual dates? So it's a mailing date of February 15th through April 15th, and the face period will run, the discount period runs from February 15th to April 15th, and the face period will run from April 16th to June 15th. Yep.
I so move.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we also have a request from our zoning hearing board to appoint an alternate member. They have been having some problems due to traveling schedules and things of the nature in having a quorum, and other townships do have alternate members for zoning hearing boards in case this might happen. So I think we would have to advertise an amendment to the ordinance, and all we're doing right now is authorizing the advertisement of an amendment to the ordinance to permit an alternate member for the zoning hearing board. We have a motion to do so.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is resolution.
Mr. President,
Yes.
quick question on that. Is that something we can do for other committees as well, like the Planning Commission, if they have such a situation, or is this just a zoning hearing?
I would defer to you on the planning commission.
This is just, at this point, just for the zoning hearing board.
Something we could look at though, Kyle.
Yeah, because the zoning hearing board, I mean, it is a quasi-judicial body. It is necessary that the chairperson appoint an alternate if he does not have a quorum. The planning commission, although very important, is primarily an advisory body. So I don't think we can talk about it, but I don't know if it needs to be done at this point.
Is that good enough, Colin?
Yeah, I just was wondering if it's something in the future, if there was an issue, could be used on other committees.
Resolution 47 of 2022, preliminary final land development, Tommy's Car Wash. A lot of dirty cars out there. What do you got there, Nate?
A lot of dirty cars, yeah, tonight. So this is the Tommy's Car Wash site. I think most of council is familiar with it at this point in time. The site is located on northbound 202, essentially about one parcel north of the Maserati dealership, which is located here. The computer store is located on this parcel here. There is a lessee who is going to operate a car wash on this existing building site. This will be next to the building that's partially existing right here. This has gone through the Planning Commission and County Review, as well as our office, Bradford Committee's office. The Planning Commission last month recommended preliminary/final approval for this land development. Briefly, the access will be the existing driveway here. It'll be one way in and out here, one way into the site. You'll then be able to go into the car wash or bypass the car wash to go to the vacuum areas. We'll then only be able to get out to 202 going northbound here. On this plan, you'll see two little modifications. We are currently working with the applicant and PennDOT on these median modifications to prevent people from trying to make illegal maneuvers on 202. Some more to come on that. This site will be connected to both public water and public sewer. 4,500 square feet, give or take. And I believe that's the gist of it. The applicant is engineer, the property owner, as well as their attorney are here tonight. We have prepared a draft resolution for council's consideration. I certainly can answer questions, or we can punt to them as necessary.
And just be advised that the applicant on the resolution, the official designation of the applicant has been changed to Chesapeake Pines PA2, LLC. Is that correct, Mr. Caragillian? Yes. Thank you.
Do we want to take a stab at a motion, or do you want, any questions anybody has now?
Dominic, just a quick question.
Sure. You need
Nate,
the pointer?
yeah.
Got the pointer, you got one down there? All right, so good.
In the exit area,
That one doesn't work either?
This is the only one
that
that works.
one.
Only one that works.
So, in this exit area right here, what is this?
So that is showing some old right-of-way lines that were indicated by PennDOT on some of the 202 plans for previous expansion projects that never materialized. So as part of the title survey, those restrictions show up on the title plan, so that's why they're shown on there. Those are on the adjacent property in that location, but again, the legal right-of-way line, we've used that ultimate right-of-way line to dictate the setbacks, Colleen, on this site, if that makes sense. So if I can borrow the pen back.
Can we take something out of stimulus money to buy more pens?
Yeah, right. So if you can follow, I'm going to try and do this without shaking too much, but if you follow this line in here, that's essentially the ultimate right-of-way line by PennDOT, and that's what we've worked the setback off of that line. So everything's been managed off of that ultimate right-of-way from PennDOT. If PennDOT were to come in, there's all kinds of legal things, but if they were to come in with widening project, that ultimate right-of-way would be on this plan, recorded and exist. There's a process for obtaining it. So I can't speak to this property and any future development over here, but on this property, that's what we base it off of.
Nate, two questions. Can you articulate the traffic flow that you were just discussing? And then are we doing sidewalk connectivity?
So sidewalks are not shown on this plan. The applicant requested a waiver. The Planning Commission recommended against it. So that was a comment in my letter. My letter is a condition of this approval, so that's why that's not specifically addressed, but I've discussed that with the applicant at and following the Planning Commission meeting. I think they understand our commitment to pedestrian facilities and are willing to, this will be modified prior to the plan being recorded to show pedestrian sidewalk across their frontage.
And there's room for the sidewalks?
Yes.
As we would like them?
Yes.
In addition to any required landscaping then?
Yes.
Okay. And so then if you could just show us the circulation about in and out.
Right, so you'll be coming northbound, you'll come in here, come into the car wash site, you'll be able to go into the queue for the car wash to pay. The pay areas over this area, or bypass that. Otherwise, you would go through the car wash this way, come back out this way, come out here, and exit the site going northbound on 202. Did I have that right, Tom? Okay.
It feels like a very, very tight turn, almost like a U-turn coming in to then bypass. So if I've entered the site and I come in, but I don't want to queue, that's like a 180-degree turn, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if we've modeled that at all, Tom, to be honest with you. I know that was kind of added in late in the game, but maybe that's something we can just double check and make sure we've got a proper turning radius for a vehicle to make that turn, that you and I could take a closer look at that? Okay. Okay, just to confirm that turning movement works.
Just because I'm thinking, otherwise you're going to end up with 3-point turns there, particularly if you have a larger truck or something like that. And then I guess, is there sort of does there become a bottleneck for those folks who are exiting versus, then are they making effectively a 90-degree turn there?
Yeah, I mean,
out?
this turn works for the car wash vehicles. Right, you're saying coming out of the car wash, you're going to make a right turn.
Correct.
Yeah, that's been modeled for vehicles to make that turn.
Seems very sharp.
Yeah, I mean, this is tight and this is tight.
Just because I know with some of the car washes, even the one across the Mr. Wizard that burned down, that had a similar sort of
they all do.
Extraordinarily sharp U-turn, and I feel like all of these car washes, these choke points, everyone ends up not being able to actually complete the turn without 3-point turns. Are we setting ourselves up for similar situations here?
Again, maybe Tom, if you want to touch on it, but I mean, again, these are designed and laid out for passenger vehicles to make those turning movements. The intent is so you can make that movement without having to do 3-point turns or backing up. To say that happens with every individual, I'm sure that's not the case, but sorry, Tom, maybe just to the microphone so that there's people listening at home as well.
Yeah, sure thing. So Tom Kadelhan, civil engineer for Kinley Horn. I'm here on behalf of Olympus Pines, who is developing the Tommy's Car Wash on this property. So we do have on this exhibit on the bottom side of this page, it is a turning model for a passenger vehicle. I believe it's about a 20-foot long passenger vehicle. The software we use is pretty conservative. So as you can see here, we can accomplish this 90-degree turn. But in the case if maybe additional room is needed, these curbs adjacent to the building, they are mountable. So if there was a reason, if they needed a little extra turn, they could turn on that mountable curb if needed. But using the software we have, given the modeling software that we have, we were able to accomplish this turn without any conflict with the curb.
And then with regard to queuing, because there's plenty of car washes that are, I think car washes are second only to Chick-fil-A in terms of queuing on certain days. So after snowstorms or things like that, when, there's only one lane in, there's no double lane that consolidates, is that correct? And so then do we anticipate that entrance that, from where folks enter the site from 202, backing up out onto 202, is there any relief to be able to accommodate on-site queuing?
So Tommy's Car Wash has an exceptionally efficient, system to get through the tunnels. I don't have the exact numbers with me, but the amount of cars they can move through the tunnel within an hour, it's somewhere in the hundreds. They have yet to see on any of their properties their queuing lanes being backed up into a public space or into a public road, I should say, given the speed that they can get their cars through the tunnel.
And Tom, just to clarify, this is a dual lane scenario here in this area. So you'll be able to pull into two lanes here, similar to the new Chick-fil-A, frankly, where then you pay and then it merges you into one lane.
That's correct.
That's similar, frankly, the car wash I use in Westchester on the way out of town is a very similar setup where you have two queues that merges in. And
do we anticipate any sort of neighborly issues if folks are coming in and then queuing onto the site, which is anticipated to be the Audi? Is that going to be, let's say it does get busy and it extends beyond this site here, is that going to be an issue for
your landlord, more or less? If this queuing backs up, the first problem is not 202.
Right.
The first problem is essentially the rest of your site.
Correct.
So you and your owner have a reason to have this operate correctly. Is there anything that your lease agreement speaks to or specifics on that per se? Maybe Kirk. I don't know if that's more for you.
Kirk Carrigan here, counsel for the tenant.
Just use the microphone if you can.
Tom was spot on. Tommy's really, no pun intended, but Tommy's car wash franchise has a real system down. Cars go through in less than 2 minutes. They can get 5 in a tunnel. The tunnels are, depending on how long I think this tunnel's 190 feet. Okay, so you can get four cars are going to be in the tunnel alone. You're going to be able to stack at least 8 or 10 cars along the north portion or the top portion of the site, and then they have the driveway there. They've modeled this pretty well, given the traffic flow. So there's not anticipated to be any backup. Now, the sharp turn that Mr. Croson was talking about earlier at the very top, that bypass is used very rarely. The thing is, Tommy's offers free vacuum. So maybe some people will come in to scooch in and try to get a free vacuum, but most of the people will be going through, and as they exit, they'll stop, they'll vacuum. So there'll be cars stacked there vacuuming while other cars are exiting the site. But at the end of the day, they really do have this modeled pretty well for traffic. And Nate's right. They've calculated the turning radiuses for most of the vehicles that are going to be on the site. And the landlord is aware and has been working with us in terms of not impeding at all his access to the rest of his property.
And Kirk, just I think I did not mention this at the beginning when I introduced this. Sorry, I did not mention this at the beginning when I brought this project up, but it is critical to mention this did receive a special exception for the use approved by the zoning hearing board earlier this summer for the car wash use.
That's correct. Thanks for reminding the board. That's right, Nate.
The other concern that I have from a circulation perspective is I understand we're doing right in, right out on the 2 separate entrances, but we can put signs at that secondary one that say, that note that it is an exit only, but are we able to modify it such that people are not able to turn in at that second entrance? Because if I'm someone who does just want to use the vacuums and maybe I miss the first entrance because it's not clear to me I need to turn in there, is there any way to modify that curb so that cars are unable to enter?
Yeah, I think, Mr. Croson, you're right. There's going to be a lot of visual cues there that are going to discourage that are going to make it unnatural for someone to feel like they can come in that way. Can we stop it? Can we prohibit someone from just accidentally coming in or overriding their instinct and coming in that way? I don't suppose we can. I mean, physically, I don't know that we can create a barrier that wouldn't impede exiting traffic. But
well, because if the traffic is coming out and only going northbound, it feels, from what I'm looking at, like that's a fairly open exit as opposed to being more sort of pointed on the lower right side. Do you know what I'm saying?
Good point.
Oh, sorry.
It is slanted. Exactly. It's canted off to the side.
Yeah. So one.
People jump curbs all the time.
If they're going to jump curbs all the time, no matter how much you slant it, they're still going to jump the curbs.
So for what it's worth, for council's update, this is actually a completely different site layout than we initially looked at. It's a special exception, frankly. We rotated the entire building around. The building had the queue went the other way, where cars had that potential to back up on 202 more directly. So this has been completely redesigned based on feedback from the zoning hearing board and the planning commission, our office, PennDOT. So this entrance, if you can see, is now skewed. Previously it was a 90-degree right in, right out. Now it's a skewed exit only, going northbound. And then this island here will be modified where it ends currently about this area. The intent is to work with PennDOT to modify this island, in addition to this island, so that, again, vehicles coming southbound on 202 will be restricted from trying to sneak in and make that movement, while trying to keep the public access that property owners north and south have, this gap. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to close those gaps necessarily because those property owners have those rights with PennDOT. But we'll extend that to minimize that movement here. Again, this will be probably, we can look at do not enter signage, things of that nature as well, and juice that up a little bit.
Can you clarify where the vacuuming locations are going to be?
Yes. There you go. Right along there.
Okay. And
Yeah, I'm sorry.
if the cars are going to go straight behind, do they have enough clearance? Because I'm assuming once they finish their vacuuming, they're going to back out of the...
Correct. They'll be going in and they'll have to back out. Obviously, they'll have to be mindful of traffic that are just exiting without using the vacuum cleaners, but that's correct.
So Nate, those islands will not be completely closed off. We're looking to extend them to limit cars being able to pull into the entrance.
That's correct, yeah, we can't close them off. Again, this permit has not been issued by PennDOT. We still have an ongoing discussion and with PennDOT, but that, I don't say a perfect world, but this is kind of the concept that we like, that kind of we think will work for all parties while, maximizing safety for those turning movements.
And have we seen any architectural elevations?
Yes, you have. It's a really unique design. It's really very contemporary, very nice. Do we have any on these plans?
I have a board with.
Let's see a board real quick. Sure.
Yeah, and condition number 7 is the applicant shall submit these architectural elevations and color board for your review.
Our color did not work so well, but if I can bring this around. Elevations for the.
We get a shot at it anyway, that's part of the approval process. Yeah. Okay, take a stab at a resolution here. So it would be the approval for the preliminary/final land development plan for Tommy's Express Car Wash, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, compliance with all comments contained in the Pannoni review letter dated November 11th, attached to Exhibit A. Number 2, compliance with all comments in the Delaware County Planning Commission letter, October 21st, 2022, Exhibit B. Number 3, compliance with all comments contained in the Thomas Committed review letter dated November 10th, 2022, attached to Exhibit C. Number 4, compliance with all comment in the fire marshal's email dated November 14th, 2022, attached to Exhibit D. Number 5, compliance with all comments in the Bradford Engineering review letter dated November 3rd, 2022, email attached to Exhibit E. Number 6, compliance with the Concord Township Zoning Hearing Board decision and order dated June 17, 2022, and each of the conditions set forth wherein attached to Exhibit F. Number 7, applicant shall submit color, architectural, elevation, color board materials for review and approval by council prior to the release of the sign plans. Approval of the elevations and material for the building shall be obtained prior to the issuance of any building permits. All building permits are to be constructed as per the approved architectural elevations, including screening of any rooftop mechanical equipment. Number 8, developer agrees to enter into a development improvement security agreement prior to the release of the sign plans. Number 9, the historic resource study shall be provided for historic resource number 10-109 Route 202. Number 10, submission to the township of all required permits and external approvals, including but not limited to PennDOT highway occupancy permit, Pennsylvania DEP sewage planning module exemption, and Pennsylvania DEP NPDES prior to construction. Number 11, developer acknowledges any future buildings or expansions will require land development and/or zoning hearing board approval. Number 12, plans are to be submitted in electronic format acceptable to the township engineer. 13, an executed operation and maintenance agreement as well as contribution to the municipal stormwater control and BMP operation and maintenance fund is required in the amount of $9,134. Number 14, payment of an open space park and rec fee in lieu in the amount of $1,482.98 as per Resolution 6 of 2022 shall be made prior to the release of the signed plans. Number 15, all deeds for the properties, legal descriptions, easements, driveways, stormwater maintenance agreements are to be submitted for review and approval by the township engineer and the township solicitor prior to release of the signed plans, and the granting of one waiver from 169H to permit a joint preliminary final subdivision. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are conditions acceptable to the applicant? Good luck with your project. Okay, Mr. Gillespie, I think you're going to handle 7, 8, and 9 because they all have to do with sewage. Is that correct? I'll go through the resolutions. Our sewer department engineer has made us aware of an H2O grant application that is being offered by the state of Pennsylvania Commonwealth Financing Authority. and it's to decommission small regionalized sewage treatment plants and abandon them and convert them to pump stations. So we have two resolutions here. One is Resolution 48 of 2022, that Concord Township hereby request a COVID-19 ARPA H2O grant in the amount of $3,595,220 from the Commonwealth Financing Authority to be used for the Central Sewage Treatment Plant Regionalization Project. This would be to convert the plant that is at the Riviera to a pump station. Do we have a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved.
Do we have a second? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Number 49 is an application to the same entity for $1,365,460 for the Fox Valley wastewater treatment plant, which is along the creek there by the grits mill. And do I have a motion to approve that one?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the last is a grant to the same group for $175,000 to add a fire protection system, sprinkler system, to the Central Sewage Treatment Plant Fire Protection Project. Do we have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
One question I had with regard to Riviera and Fox Valley, so are those, they're private plants now?
We own the one at Riviera,
Okay.
and Fox Valley owns the one in Fox Valley. However, they are looking to get out of that business.
So wouldn't they apply for the
I
grant?
think it's
Why
been-
would we?
We are applying for it because I think
Wouldn't work. The state regulations require us to do it.
Do we need to take ownership of it first in order to be the applicant, though?
according to Walt, no, we can do it just like this, but eventually we're going to own that pump station.
Are they? I know that we were talking about the sort of the age and condition of it, and
Yeah.
is this part of making the age and condition better so that we want it?
Well, we won't own it anymore. It'll be a pump station.
Okay.
It will not be a plant anymore. It'll pump it across the street to where the beer distributor is, that big pump station, and then from there it'll go to the main plant.
Okay. And then as part of that, though, would we then,
We would
after
own the
this,
pump station.
would we assume the sewer infrastructure within
No,
Fox
that's a
Valley?
separate deal.
Okay.
That's the biggest aging part would be the collection system.
Okay.
We were asked years ago from
It's all
Fox
terracotta pipe.
Fox Valley to help them to try to get rid of the plant. Understanding would be we would do what we could to help them in that role. However, actual lines in the street that go to the plant, service Fox Valley, since they have an HOA, they would have to figure out how they're going to fix that.
So those are two separate things.
The first thing is to get rid of the plant.
Okay.
All
Very
right.
good. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor,
Second.
please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you for coming out this evening. Trooper, thank